Okay, this is the Compass Downloader instruction video. First, when you load up, it's going to ask for your username and password, and if you haven't changed that, it's going to be master and master for the password. So they're all caps, both the username and password. First thing you want to do is click on customers. If you're wanting to add a new customer, you just hit add. And then here you'll put the subscriber data, such as the receiver number, which this is, I think, pretty arbitrary. I usually just put a 1 here, but if you ever have an account number that's the same with an existing account number you have in the panel already, there will be a collision, so I just change the receiver number to 2 or 3 or something like that to make it different. This also helps if you have a customer. You might want to, if you have a bunch of separate accounts with the same customer, you could assign a certain number here on the receiver number to make it easier to organize your customers. So I'm just going to put a 2 here for now because I'm making this a test account, and I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll put test in here. You can leave all this blank, really. You don't even have to put anything in there. The only thing that's required, I believe, is the receiver and the account number. But it's good practice to put all that in there. So now let's go ahead and put in our panel. It'll be a Vista 128 BPT. And we're going to do revision 12. Here we would put in our panel phone number if we had one, which is kind of rare these days. MAC address, if you have a MAC address for the GSM or any radio that's there, it's got a MAC address. And I don't have one now. There's a place to put the MAC address in there later as well, so you can connect to the panel. It doesn't have to be in there right this moment. So just click OK. This builds our account. And to program this, we would just double click on it. But right now, what I want to do is I want to make a template first. And then that template we can apply to several accounts if we built several of these. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll click on templates. I've already got one in there, but I'm going to make a new one, a better one than what I got. And once again, select your panel type, Vista 128. BPT and revision. Oh, I didn't put that right. Vista. There we go. And I'm going to name it DSG for Dick's Sporting Goods. Okay. And then just double click on that. Let that open up. And then in the panel editor, first thing I'm going to do, since this Dick's Sporting Goods has 6 partitions, I'm going to add partitions right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that adds, we got 6 partitions now total. And now we can name the partitions. Partition 1 is the perimeter. And I want to put up here, I would put the store DSG. This is what will show up on the keypad when it's disarmed. DSG, and then put store number. Oh, let's see. And then this, you'd put the number of the store, so it'd be 1, 2, 3 or whatever. I'll leave that blank because it's just a template and I can fill it in later. Primary sub account is 0s right now because this is a template once again, but this would be where we would change that out. Here are our entry exit delays. We can change these. I'm going to change the entry exit to 120. Now see, it says entry 2 must be greater than entry 1. So entry 2 will also have to be at least 135. Same way with this. So if I go 120 for the exit delay, 135 for that. So that is our entry and exit one delays. And let's see, one thing we want to do too is we want to check these checkboxes here. This is what makes the external siren chime, and the keypad will ding too when you arm the system. So that way you know that the system is armed. As far as these other some of these things I found out recently, zone bypass after disarm. That means that when you cancel or when you open up the store, if you have any zones bypassed, it doesn't unbypass them on the first round when you disarm. Whereas if this is unchecked, every time you disarm the keypad, it's going to unbypass any bypass zones. So we'll leave that unchecked. Let's see. So everything else can remain default. We do want to display for other partitions troubles. Yeah, let's do that. So now that's it for this partition so far. Let's go ahead and go to partition 2, and we'll name that, and that will be interior. I'm not going to bother putting anything up here because we don't have a keypad on partition 2. So, but we will check these checkboxes down here. Same thing with 3. 3 is the cash office, I believe. I'm typing with one hand because I got the microphone in the other. Okay, so now, partition 2. I want to make sure the entry exit's the same delay time as the first, because if we have this is the motion sensor, so we want to make sure it's set up as the same. So we're going to put 120. It's going to give us that warning again, and we'll do 120 here, and then we'll do 135 and 135. Okay, so we're good there, and everything else should be good. Save it. This is how you save. It's good out of practice to save every once in a while. That way, if your computer crashes, you're still good. So we're back. Oh, let's see. Okay, we're back to the cash office here. Now the cash office, we're going to go back. We're going to set the entry-exit delay to 0. And the reason for this is we want the keypad to arm immediately. So as soon as they punch in on the cash office keypad, we want it to arm. And we're going to go ahead and check those check boxes so we get our siren to chime outside. Okay, partition 4 is the safe. This one, let's go back to the cash office here. Partition 3, we can put something up here because we have a keypad on this, so let's put cash office up here as well. Okay, so back to 4. Safe, we want to check these boxes once again. That should be good. Partition 5, we will. Partition 5 is the gun area. We don't have a keypad for that as well, but we'll leave that alone. Now the gun area we will also set to 120 seconds because we have one motion on the sales floor that we want to make sure that's disarmed at the same time. And we'll set these to 135 because they got to be more than these two. check our checkboxes. And let's go ahead and save. And then 6 is the receiving. REC. Oh. Let's see, receiving. And this we can put receiving up here too. Okay, and this one can also be 0. It can arm as soon as they arm it. We don't need any delays. And we will also check our checkboxes, and we should be good. So we've set up partition 1. We've named it. We put a display on the keypad. We set our times to 120 seconds. Check our checkboxes. Okay, that all looks good. Named it. Check checkboxes. Named it here. So 0. I want to check this. Okay, 120, yeah. Partition 4. Oh, this one we can set to 0 as well, because this is safe, so it's in the cache office. It can arm immediately. Partition 5, gun area, and partition 6. Everything looks good. I'll save it one more time. Now, the next thing we can do is we can go to our dialer, I believe. And communications. We can set this to 15225. We want to set this to long range radio. Everything else can be the same default. Yeah. So we can go ahead and save that. Report codes. We probably want the zones to report bypasses as well. You know, we're not going to use all these, but we're probably only going to go to like 40 some zones. So that's really the first 4 is all we need to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. But oh well, we did more. Well, may as well get these last 2, huh? We'll just get them all. Okay, so everything is selected. We'll hit save on that. Now, if there's any time we don't want, like say we don't want certain zones to report troubles, then we could just like uncheck like zone 65 through 80. So if we had any zones that we wanted to make trouble day alarm nights, but we didn't want them to send signals to the central station, we would just put those particular zones on zone 65 through 80 and uncheck this trouble box here, and then it won't report troubles. But I don't think we're doing trouble zones anymore, so we'll go ahead and let everything report. Okay, so now we'll go to our devices. We have our alpha console on number 1. Number 2 will also be an alpha console, because this is going to be this is going to be a virtual keypad used by the mobile app. So we're going to make both of these global keypads. We're going to make number 2 an AUI. And then 3 will be our long range radio. So there's a radio. 4 will make the output device, because that'll be our relay. 5 will make an alpha console. We'll also make it global, because we're going to make all the keypads global. That way, no matter where they're at, they can control it. And we'll make another alpha console, and we'll make this one global. And then these 2, so we want to make this partition 3, so this will be the cache office keypad, and this will be the receiving keypad. So that would be partition 6. So we have our main keypad, and then we'll have our virtual keypad. Yeah, let me retype that. We'll have a relay. We'll have the cache keypad and receiving. Okay, and then down at 25, I believe is RIS. So that's for the also for the virtual control through the mobile app. I believe it's 25 is the address that's required for that. I'll have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So we'll save that. Now we'll go to our globals. And here we want to, let's see, for our purposes, we want to go to event log. And we want to, in order for the long-range radio to send out signals, we have to tell it what type of signals it's allowed to send out. And this is where we do that. So for CS customer number 1, we want to send everything, really. So we're just going to go ahead and check all those. We won't have anything on CS2, so we don't need to check those checkboxes. So let's go ahead and save that. Time format doesn't really matter. I think we're good on that. Sounder options. Yeah. We can leave all this stuff default. Users. Okay, so this is where we'll set up our codes. And the main thing you want to remember is we need to have permissions on these. Now, this is the installer code, number 1, and the installer code is set up like that, but we also want to be able to global ARM with them. So we're going to check that for all the partitions. We also want to have full control on our installer code. We also want to have full control on our master code. Okay, and then and this is the AUI description. This is what would show up on their computer too. I think we're supposed to take those out, if I remember right, so they don't show up on. Yeah, I believe so. I think we're supposed to take those out, so that way it doesn't show up on the computer when they log in. Securitas doesn't want them to see or to be able to see these or change these 2 codes. And this code should be changed when you get the account number for the panel. You'll want to put that account number right here in this number 2 slot. So number 3, we'll just make up a generic code. So we can make 4545, let's say. And this one we'll also give master control, but this will be for the store manager. Or I'm sorry, not master, but we'll do these as managers. Okay, and then we'll give them permissions to arm all the zone or every area, and global arm them from any keypad, and allow them to group bypass. I don't know if we're setting up Yeah, we're not setting up any group bypassing, but we'll leave that in there just in case something changes. Okay, and this would be where our AUI description comes in. Just a moment. Okay, I just looked at the scope of work that says we should put test in here. Now the AUI descriptor, if there's nothing in this, it won't show up in secure stat. And we don't want the first two to show up in secure stat because we don't want the customer to be able to change these passcodes. So as long as they can't see them, they can't change them. So now in this, we'll go ahead and put test. That way it will show up in secure stat, and they can change this one, starting with number 3. So we are good there. We'll go ahead and save this. Oh, yeah. Okay, make sure we got all our permissions. I am going to go back to devices here a minute, and I want to put in, I did confirm 25 is remote interactive services. So I'm going to put the descriptor in there, even though it says RIS right there. We'll just save that. Okay, so we were on users. Now zones. This is where we will go with our zones. Now I'm going to assume we don't have any hardwired zones, so I'm going to 0 all the first 9 out. Let's see, I just hit 0. Oops. 0. 0. 0. 0. 0. And if you do that, you don't have to put resistors on the panel because now they're all disabled and it won't be looking for them. Okay, so this is how I want my template to stay. I'm not going to bother putting any zones in my template because they might change dramatically, so I'm just going to leave it alone. But if we were, let's say we started with zone 10, let's make it the entry-exit door. We would choose that. We could put a description in here. But this description does not show up on the keypad. This is just for us. The only people that will see this description are the people that have access to programming in Compass. Okay, this is our report codes right here. There has to be a number in there in order for the central station to receive a signal. If it's blank, this zone will only enunciate locally. It won't send any signals to the central station. This is our partition number, so we can choose what partition this zone's on. And we'll say the entry exit is on the perimeter zone, or area, I mean, which is partition 1. Our input type, we're going to put serial. And then we would put our loop number and then our serial number for our polling loop. And then here's our alpha descriptor. These 3 will show up on the keypad. And you just double click on that. And you can choose from existing words. And if you don't find a word in here, you can add a word, like say vestibule. Now, just because you put vestibule in here, if you add, it doesn't add it to the zone descriptor. Because you've got 1, 2, and 3. So, but you have to double click on it, and that put it in slot. Where did I put it? I put it in slot 3. So, or no, I didn't. I put it in slot 2. So I can delete that. If I want to put it in slot 1, I could double click it. Now, it may not put it in slot 1. If the word is too long, it's going to take up 2 slots. So it'll automatically put it in slot 2. Let's see what it does. See, it already filled up the first 2 slots and it moved us to 3. So this description is too long to fill up just 1 spot. And that's why that does that. So it put it in zones 1 and 2, but it shows it in 2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this from here. Now, these are typical descriptions that need to be added. I may add some more in my template later, but now you see how to do it. And you see it showed up over here, vestibule. But when I hit OK, it should disappear. Wait a minute. Oh, I didn't delete it. Delete it, and then OK. Vestibule's no longer in there. Okay, and this is the other settings. It's not a vplex relay, access point. Those things don't matter. Now, say we had another zone that is a perimeter. We would do the same thing. Choose serial pole, put our serial number in, description, and then we've got some other options here. Let's say it was an interior follower, a motion sensor. Same thing, serial pole, put our loop and our serial number here, description, and then we have some other features. And anytime you don't know what a feature is, just click on it and then hit the F1 key, and it pops up with the help panel, and it shows you what these descriptions mean. So, like for instance, we want to know what is anti-mask. So we can look down and try to find anti-mask in here. Let me see. Okay, I didn't find anything on anti-mask, but you can Google it, something like that too. But there's also other features down here, auto stay. We don't want the auto stay feature checked on interior zones or exterior zones, really. What this does, auto stay, if an entry exit point isn't tripped after you arm the system, the keypad will automatically go into stay mode, to where now the motion sensors are not activated. So any motion sensors checked as out of stay, only the perimeter zones are going to work. Arm faulted. If you want to be able to arm the system with the motion sensor faulted, you could check this box. That's up to you. So, either way, this is where we set up our zones. You can set them up. You can see all the options here, and you can play around with that and set them up as you need to. So, I'm going to zero these out because I don't want them as my templates. Serial pole. I can leave them serial poles because they're going to be. Okay, I'm going to save that. We don't have any cross zoning going on. I'm not going to explain all that. We don't have schedules, but we do have relays on this one. So what we're going to do is click on our relay. We're going to go to output devices, and we're going to set up our output devices here. So let me set them up according to the scope that I made. Okay, our first device will be the exterior strobe. And we want this one to close and stay closed, not for 2 seconds. I'm sorry. There we go. And we're going to make this zone activate on arming away. And it's going to deactivate on disarming, coding off. We want it to only be on partition 5 if partition 5 is armed away and disarmed. And we also want it to activate in an alarm state. So we're going to select a 4204 relay. We set the device address at 4 for our relay. So we're going to make that there. And we're going to make it the first relay in that 4204. So we're going to go ahead and save that. Okay, our next device will be the receiving horn. And it's also going to close and stay closed. We're going to make it arm on, or activate. The relay will energize on a trouble day alarm night signal. Now, even though we may not be using the trouble zones anymore, this will still work on alarm. So, well, this won't. This is setting up as a zone type, but we're going to make it, that's the start zone type, but we're also going to make it start on alarm too. And then we want it to stop if this area is disarmed, code and off. And it's going to be the receiving area, partition 6. So now, anytime that partition 6 goes into alarm, the siren will sound in the receiving area. And if it's disarmed, it will shut the alarm off. Also, if there's any trouble zones in partition 6, if they change their mind again and we end up setting it up, this relay will already be set up for that. So the receiving horn will go off anytime a trouble is sent on partition 6. So we're going to set our 4204 back to relay or address 4 again, and this will be relay 2. And we'll save that. Our next device is going to activate a relay that will turn on the lights whenever any partition goes into alarm, so we're going to call it the alarm light. And we're going to make this one a toggle zone. So it's going to toggle on anytime it goes into alarm. And the only thing we're going to set is alarm. It's going to be 0 any partition for the start and the stop. And we will let's see. .4204, we're going to make this 4. And now this is going to be relay 3. Okay, and we will save that. And our next one will be disarm light. Okay, let's do that. I think I put 9 in there. There we go. And this will be a close and stay closed. So anytime the system is disarmed, it will also trigger the lights to come on. So this should be, let's see. So we're going to set this up. The zone type is 22, disarm, code and off. That'll activate the relay. And 21 will arm it, so this will be the stop zone type. So this will deactivate the relay when it's armed. And we're going to set it up for partition 2 because partition 2 is the interior zones. So anytime they want the lights on, they're going to have, if they're going to be in the building, they need to have the interior zones deactivated or disarmed. So they're going to be our trigger, is partition 2. And we will set up our relay, which is on address 4. And this time it's still going to be relay number 3, because we're using that single relay to control whenever it goes into alarm or whenever it goes into disarm. So the way this works, let me save this real quick. Theoretically, we haven't fully tested it yet, but it should. When they arm it at night, it should deactivate the relay, and based on the wiring of our relay, that will turn the lights off. And then if it goes into alarm, the alarm will toggle it back, the relay back on, which will turn the lights back on. When they cancel the alarm, that will it should, even though this will toggle back off, that's also disarming. So the relay should actually stay activated because it's going to be disarmed. So the relay shouldn't change states even when they cancel the alarm. And it should, should cause the alarm to, or like say the lights to stay on, and then only when they arm again, it'll deactivate the relay, and then turn the lights back off. That's the theory. We need to actually test this in practice to make sure that this works, but hopefully I've got it figured out right. Okay, so I think that's everything for our template, because we don't have any access controls. Now, this stuff down here, this is your change. I think this is a change history. Yeah, change and compare. You can see what the differences are between, say you just uploaded the panel and you want to see how it's different. It'll tell you in here how the uploaded version of the panel is between the saved edition. So when you upload a panel, if you don't hit the save button, it doesn't save the data that you just uploaded. But if you hit save, it's going to override whatever you've got saved. So you don't you want to compare it first and see what the differences are. And you might even want to save that information by print it to a PDF file. You can hit print. Well, it doesn't have anything to print here, but you can use Microsoft Print to PDF to save it to a PDF file, the differences, and then you can always compare it. And if you need to revert back to what you just saved, you can always do that. History, this will show all the changes I just made from a default panel, and the latest stuff I was changing was relay stuff. So this just shows, this is a log that shows everything that's been changed in programming. Okay, so like I say, I believe that is everything. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'll save it one more time. Make sure everything is saved. If you try to save again, it says no changes in data, which there wasn't. So I believe that's everything. Now, if we close this, we should go back to this page here, which is our template page. Now, if we go back to our customers, we see this customer here that we just made. If we have that selected and then we go down to template and hit template, it's going to ask us which template do we want to load. Well, if we load the one we just created, and it's only going to show the templates that match the panel type and revision number that you already have. So if the account you just created has a different panel type, it won't show these two. It would show other templates if you had them. So we'll just hit OK on DSG. Do you want to update panel data from the template? Yes. So now, this new account I just made, if I double click on this customer, it opens up the panel editor again and everything. So now we have, instead of the default one partition, we have our 6 partitions, and you see they're named. This is exactly what, but you notice the account number 1234 is in there instead of all zeros like it was in the template. And remember, you have to put an account number for each partition, so that you don't want to forget to put your account number. So if the account number is 1234, you'll have to put that in partition 1, partition 2, partition 3, 4, 5, 6. So don't forget that. To change the account number in partition 1, you actually have to do it in let's see, right here under details. So where I put 1, 2, 3, 4, if you have a different account number, you need to change it here. Okay, so we've got all this. Now let's say we were trying to connect to the radio. We can go up here to this icon, click Launch Communication for this account. It's going to bring up the communication panel, hopefully. Sometimes it takes a while. There it is. Now, if we had a modem, we would go to Communication Settings, and we set up our modem. No COM ports retrieved because I don't have a modem connected, but you would set up your COM ports right here by clicking on this, you could select your COM port and then hit add. Well, I'm not going to do that because I don't have one. And then you would select the COM port here, and you'd select your modem out of this list. The other option we have is TCP/IP port settings. This is how we connect to remote or to AlarmNet. So if you just select one of these settings, like TCP/IP1, leave all this blank. There's really nothing you have to do here. This control server.alarmnet.com is already in there, so just hit OK. This is already set up for connecting to AlarmNet, so we don't really have to do anything. So I'm going to cancel that because I already had it set up anyway. Now you would just hit connect. It says there's no ports, no modems configured, which we don't care about that because what we're going to do is enable TCP/IP. We click that. This is where you have an option to put the MAC address in. If you haven't already put it in the details earlier, you can put it in here. So, you know, put it in 65, I don't know, or 35F2555, I don't care what it is. And then you just hit save, and it'll save it in that panel data, and it'll remain in this account. Make sure AlarmNet is checked, ECP is checked, and then just hit connect, and then it will connect to any panel that has that MAC address. And that's if it's the first time you're connecting to the panel, check this first time connect. If the account number is in the panel, you'll want to check this checkbox here. If it's not, leave it alone. But first time you connect to the panel, make sure you choose this radio button here. Then you just hit connect, and that's all there is to it. I'm not going to connect to this panel because I just made that number up and I don't know who it belongs to. That's the scary part about this, though, is really you could just put in any MAC address and connect to it, and you could have somebody's data. Okay. Once you're connected, let's pretend this is connected. Any of these commands you can select over here, and if you move them to this side, just by double-clicking on them, you can download all your data to the panel. So now, if it was connected, it would be trying to connect or trying to download all that. And once it does, the little asterisk will come up right beside it when it's in progress, and then a pound sign will come up when the execution is completed, and an ampersand if it has failed. You can always click on this and then delete. Let's see. Click to delete the selected command. If you load up a list of commands here for it to perform, and you don't want it to go through all of them, you can delete them that way. But here's the options you have. You can even arm and disarm the panel remotely. Oops. I don't know why it's doing this. Okay. But you can see what your options are. But it's really as simple as that. Nothing else to it. And then when you're done, before you close this, you'll want to hit disconnect. Disconnect from the panel, and then hit close. And that is it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I'm going to delete this account because I don't want it in there. So it's going to delete the account with receiver 2, account number 1234. And that's no longer in my records. Now you'll see up here you can search for other things. You can search by the receiver number or other things. I have other panels in there. They're not showing because I have number 2 up here right now, and I already hit search for number 2 earlier. And I don't have any receiver 2s, so it's not showing up anything under receiver 2. Okay, I think that's all for now. That's the gist of it. So if you have any questions, you can always give me a call.